Hello everyone, big welcome to everyone. My name is Jenny and I'm a part of education team at Medit. Nice to meet everyone. And today we have Dr. Marwan here.
Hello, Jenny. How are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm good, thank you. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you after so long.
Yes, today's is an exciting webinar. We're going to be talking about the
Mm,
digital immediate denture workflow.
yeah. So everyone must be so interested about this topic, immediate denture. So can you introduce a little bit about it?
The immediate denture, to be honest, during my 12 years of being a dentist, for over 10 years, I stayed away from the immediate denture because
Mm,
we know in dentistry there was one limitation about it, which is we didn't have the opportunity to do a try-in. And that's one thing that made me always hesitant to take cases of immediate denture, because technically we didn't have the workflow like in the conventional traditional denture where we do wax up
mm,
try-in that would give us the opportunity to test drive the smile before we go ahead for the final product. And um, in the analog world, it's just impossible to do a try-in. Once we move towards digital, and once I start to understand these tools, how to use them, we are in this day we do digital try-in. We don't need try-in anymore. So we rely on photos and we do the smile design. Once we have the sketch, we have the plan where every tooth should be, we move to a Medit Design app. And that's what I'm trying to demonstrate today.
mm.
How can we use the Medit Design app to make a full denture and to do the digital extraction? It's a very simple and useful trick that can be used by anyone who's watching us.
Mm. It seems really interesting. So shall we get it started right away, Doctor?
Of course, let's do it.
Okay.
All right. I'll share with you today the steps that I follow to create a digital immediate denture. In summary, we need four groups: the initial, scan, and denture teeth, denture bases, and edentulous ridges. We are going to use the Medit Design app for that purpose. So that's the initial situation. We have terminal dentition, multiple missing teeth, severe bone loss, multiple teeth associated with infection, failed root canal treatments, mobility, and caries, few bridges, and fused crowns. Decision was made to do extract the teeth and insert an immediate denture, and possibly in the future that denture will be converted to implant, retained or supported. Before I start, I always duplicate the initial scan, keep it as a reference. I might need to compare to, or I might use it later on. Rename the group to initial, create another group and call it teeth, and another group bases. Because the project will be large, we need to keep organizing our meshes into groups. In that order, it will make it easier to trace. And here I have imported the denture teeth. If you're interested to learn how to create your own 3D teeth library for free, you can watch my previous webinar. So usually I save my 3D teeth library in my Medit link, where I can easily import for my projects. The first step in order to make an immediate denture, we need to do digital extraction. Click on Edit Mode, Smart Teeth Selection, followed by Erase. Once we delete the selected teeth, you can see we have large hole in the mesh. All what we need to do is use the bridge tool followed by fill holes. We need to bridge the interdental areas in order to convert that large hole into multiple smaller holes. You can use a sculpting tool to smooth the ridge, because that later on will become our intaglio surface for the immediate denture. You can follow the same steps for the lower as well. I'm using the smooth brush. Now we have our edentulous ridges. We managed to do digital extraction, and that's the first step before we start making the denture. And the nice thing about digital dentistry, you can see, and that's why I like immediate dentures, we managed to preserve the vertical dimension and the horizontal jaw relation. So we didn't need to capture CR jaw relation, centric jaw relation, or to measure the vertical dimension. And that's what makes immediate denture, it's a two-visit procedure. First, we take the scan, and then the second appointment will be extraction and denture insertion. The next step is we need to make the denture bases. So we're going to use the edentulous arch to duplicate a selected area, which is technically we're going to trace the borders. Where do we want to extend our denture base? You can activate texture. Seeing color would allow you to distinguish between keratinized attached gingiva and the mucosa. You can see in here I'm giving space for the frenum. Once you are happy with the extension of your borders, you can click apply. And switch to monochromatic. And that will become our future denture base. But this is a mesh touching the gum. We need to offset it to give space between the gum and the denture base. In this case, I'm going to offset it by 0.2 millimeters to give a relief between the denture base and the gums. For immediate dentures, you can provide a relief of 0.5 millimeters or even a millimeter. But in this case, because I know there is quite a bit of bone loss, and upon extraction, there will be lots of space between the denture and the gums. Once we offset it, now we need to thicken that mesh in order to create a 3D object. So I chose 2 millimeters. It's enough thickness for a denture base. However, you can do whatever thickness you feel comfortable with. So that's our upper denture base complete. You can see there's a tiny gap, which is the 0.2 millimeters that we offsetted. So we did offset followed by thicken, and that's how we created denture base. You can do exactly the same steps for the lower. So that's the edentulous ridge. And here I'm trying to reorganize my meshes. That's the lower denture base completed, which I did follow the same steps. Offset by 0.2 millimeters, followed by thicken of 2 millimeters. And that's the denture base. We're trying it in over the edentulous ridge to assess the border extension. I'm going to create another group. We're going to call it edentulous. So these are the 4 groups that we have: initial, teeth, bases, and edentulous. These are the denture bases. You can see them. They are floating in space. And as we already mentioned, we have preserved the vertical dimension because the starting initial situation had an ideal and a comfortable bite for the patient, regardless of aesthetics and comfort. So edentulous ridges, denture bases. So 2 steps completed. The final step now, we need to fit these denture teeth within the base. So you can see the teeth, the roots of the teeth of the digital library sticking through the denture base and actually sticking through the gum. So we need to trim the excess teeth. And to do that, we have to precisely trim 1 millimeter above the gum. Again, I repeat, we want our teeth extended 1 millimeter under the gum to leave a 1 millimeter of denture base sitting on the gum. So we will have gums, and we will have relief of 0.2 millimeters, then a 1 millimeter of denture base, then the root of the tooth and the tooth. So I'll show you how we are going to do it. And I'll explain why this is important if you are intending to export teeth and denture bases separate. The reason why I would export teeth and denture bases separate, if I want to print the base in pink, and the teeth in white. So I'll show you how I'll do it. We need to trim the root area. To do that, we need to do offset of a millimeter followed by Boolean cut. Now, Boolean cut, it's a process where we can trim, where we choose the B as the trimmer and the A is the object that needs to be trimmed. And in this situation, what I chose a 1 millimeter offset edentulous ridge, and that mesh is 1 millimeter above my gums. And then I did Boolean cut from the denture teeth. And what has happened, I ended up with denture teeth that are 1 millimeter shorter of the gum. I hope that makes sense. You can see the precision of the trimming that we have achieved. We trimmed the root surfaces that were sticking through the denture base. And not only that, we didn't trim them randomly. We did trim them with a precision of 1 millimeter above the gum. And how did we do that? We chose the gum mesh. We did offset it by 1 millimeter, and we used that mesh as a trimmer with the teeth. And how do we do that? Boolean cut. So we do offset gums by 1 millimeter, Boolean cut with the teeth. And that's how we trim the teeth 1 millimeter above the gum. And here what I'm trying to do is to add some of the denture base, because you can see there was quite a bit of bone loss in that area, and we had large black triangles. So I'm adding some denture base in order to close the black triangles and cover the roots of these teeth with denture base. If you're planning to export your denture as a monoblock, which is teeth and gums one piece, where you are going to print all in one color. Let's say if you are doing a guide for implant surgery, or you're doing a temporary denture where you don't want two colors, then you're going to, your project is almost complete. But in this case, we are making immediate dentures, and we want the teeth to be separate from the gums, from the base, in order to print them separately or mold them separately. And to do that, it's not a straightforward procedure. And I'll explain why we will need to do that. Because we want to create sockets within the denture base for the teeth to fit in, so we can glue them once we finish the printing or the milling. We want to glue them together. We want to bond them together. You might think we need to do Boolean cut. We wouldn't do that. If we do Boolean cut, yes, we're going to create sockets, but it will be too tight to insert the teeth within the sockets. So we have to create sockets that are slightly larger than the teeth. So look what I'm doing. I'm offsetting the teeth by 0.2 millimeters. And then I'm going to use these teeth as a trimmer. So I'm using Boolean cut again. And these offsetted teeth, which are teeth that are larger than the denture teeth by 0.2 millimeters as B, I'm using the denture base as A. Once I do that, I'll have the final lower base. And I'll show you how it will look. We can move it to the base. So now we have teeth seated within the denture base, and we have sockets. This would allow us to insert the teeth within the denture base without any friction, because we provide space for the bonding. And that space, we obtained it by doing two steps. Not a Boolean cut right away. We did offset, followed by Boolean cut. We did offset the teeth by 0.2 millimeters, followed by Boolean cut to create sockets that are slightly larger than the teeth. So let's recap. That was the initial. We did digital extraction. That's the first step. We created denture bases. Second step, imported 3D teeth library. Third step, and we did fit these teeth within the denture base. Fourth step. And that's our project is complete. You can see these are immediate dentures. They are 4 3D files will be exported. Upper base, upper teeth, lower base, lower teeth. And you can see the before and after. One final check. I'll show you a cross section of the project that we've been working on. I find this fascinating. You can see the layers, the spaces with precision. That's the power of digital dentistry. That's the ridge, the space, which is the relief space, 1 millimeter of denture base, space for the bonding agent, lower denture tooth, an overjet, an overbite, upper denture tooth, the same space, 0.2 millimeters, 1 millimeter denture base, 0.2 millimeter relief in the dentulous ridge. These are the 4 groups that we had in this project. Now the project is complete. That's the denture. So let's recap. That's the initial situation. After this scan, we do digital extraction. Then we will 3D print the dentulous ridges. And then we have 2 options following the same workflow. Either monoblock, where teeth and denture base fused together using Boolean union and printed in the same color. This is a model resin. This is not for the patient to wear. This is just for me to show you how it would look like. So usually if it is, you'll print it with white color, it'll be all white. Or we can print them in 2 separate STLs, where the teeth and the denture bases can be printed in 2 different colors and can be bonded outside the mouth after printing. And you can use the pink denture anchored resin. You put it in the socket after adhesive. You insert the teeth, remove excess, then cure. And that's usually the lab will be doing it for me. I'm not printing my dentures just yet in the clinic. However, I do printing using model resin. I do print special trays. And I do print study models as well. And yeah, so that's an idea of the difference between two separate STLs or one. So monoblock or teeth and denture base separate. And that's the whole idea of this webinar, to show you how to do this. Doing this is quite easy, just Boolean union. Doing this a bit more technically difficult. And after you are done, you can just remove the support by, so you can see, look, these are the teeth and these are the sockets, and you push them together. The fit is quite good, and you can see they clip in, and you can print them technically in two colors, pink and white. And this is usually after 6 months, where let's say the temporary denture will be relined chair side with soft reline. After 6 weeks, waiting 6 months would leave us with thick flanges. So usually, technically, we want to move to more definitive denture. I would scan the relined temporary denture, and I would 3D print it and use it as a special tray. Reline it with light body impression material and take an impression, and then send the relined impressions with bite registration to the lab to follow a copy denture technique to make the final product. If you're interested to learn the smile designing, the smile analysis, you can check my dsdmadeeasy.com. So it's www.dsdmadeeasy.com, where I'll show you the step-by-step how I do design the smile frame. 5 vertical lines, identify the midline, canine positions, the boundaries for the smile, followed by drawing the 2D DSD template. That's the final. You can see the denture brought balance and harmony back to the smile. Thank you so much for watching.
Okay, thank you for sharing all your tips with us, Dr. Marwan.
My pleasure.
Yeah, you told us step by step, so it was really easy to understand.
Yeah, I think today's topic, it's a bit technical, and I tried my best to simplify it. In particular, how to do the offset followed by Boolean cut to provide the space between the teeth and the denture base. And I hope I made it clear. I know it's not an easy topic.
I think even the beginners might have understood so well because you explained in a simple words and simple workflow. So let's move on to Q&A sessions. You can tell us more about it. Okay, question number 1. When do you reline the immediate denture and what material do you use?
Usually when I make the immediate denture, so I do teeth extraction in the clinic, and the immediate dentures will be inserted on that day. And once healing stage is completed, which is typically we wait for 6 weeks, and that's when I'll do chairside soft reline. And once that is done, technically the patient can keep them for up to 1 year. But 6 months to 1 year, that's when it will be time to move to the next final definitive denture. So in the immediate denture, so once the teeth are out, the denture will be in place by the swelling. So soft tissue swelling will happen in the first couple of days, the most that we will get. So the denture to start with will be with a good fit to start with. And we would instruct the patient to try to remove the denture once a day and keep it clean and sleep with it for the first week. And once the swelling will start to occur, the denture will start to become loose. And at that time, the patient will be using denture adhesive cream to keep the denture during the day to provide some retention. At 6 weeks time, the healing will already been taking place, and that's the time when I'll do chairside soft reline. And I use a product by Voco. I haven't tried any other product, but there are many products on the market, and they act like a tissue conditioning material. They are silicone based and soft, so to provide retention, stability as well, and support. And usually patients tend to like it. And even I've seen myself, they'll stay happy for up to 6 months. And at 6 months time, that's the time when we will be ready to either do rebase or hard reline in the lab, or even make a new denture if we want to make changes. In my case, we hardly ever remake the denture. So usually that immediate denture will be our final denture. And even if I wanted to make a new denture at the 6 months time, I'll use my Medit scanner to scan that denture and print it and use that as a special tray. So once I scan and print, I reline it with light body, and I take an impression and send that impression to the lab to either copy denture or it will help me to. So that immediate denture and the reline is an investment for the future. So it's a work in progress. It's not a final product. And even if the patient down the line wanted to move towards more definitive, like implant retention, we can still convert that denture, whether chairside or using the lab for it as well, because this denture will act as a foundation for our future work. Because if we are happy with the smile and patient is comfortable with the bite, we preserve it. We tend not to lose it, and using the digital tool.
So in the beginning of 6 weeks, you wait without using any soft material. And after the tissue is settled down, you use soft kind of material inside the denture as a base. And
Correct, yeah.
After 6 months to hard material. Huh?
Correct, yeah. So for the first 6 weeks, the first week, let's say the swelling will keep it in place. And after that, denture adhesive cream. And usually the patient would buy it from the pharmacy, and that would tend to help for provide retention to up to 6 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for answering about it. Okay, next question. Question number 2. What is the benefit of the space between the gums and the denture? And what about the space between the denture teeth and the base?
That's a good question. The space that I have demonstrated today in the webinar between the denture base and the gum, it's a relief for the pressure. And in fact, in cases of immediate denture, we tend to leave more than 0.2, even though I demonstrated 0.2, but it's not a rule to follow that. We tend to remove way more than that. We 0.5 millimeters and up to 1 millimeter as well in some cases, because we know there will be quite a bit of swelling after the extractions, and we don't want to apply so much pressure on the wound. However, in the case that I demonstrated, I know on the X-rays there was quite a bit of bone loss, and I know there will be lots of shrinkage of soft tissue, and I know that I didn't need that space to provide. Regarding the space between the denture teeth and the base, this it's up to the preference, because the denture base and the teeth could be either milled or printed, and we have many printers and milling. So these parameters can be modified accordingly to the preference. And whether it's 0.1 or 0.2, it's up to the clinician, I believe. And again, it's the same concept. I'm trying to deliver the concept, and a clinician can use their knowledge and their expertise to provide themselves with the requirements that they are after. Regarding I made the teeth to be 1 millimeter above the gum when I did offset the edentulous mesh and I did Boolean cut to provide 1 millimeter. And in fact, it's less than 1 millimeter I provide. It's to be precise, I did provide in this example that I demonstrated today 0.8 millimeters because I did leave a relief of 0.2. It's not a must to leave a millimeter. We can all what we need for teeth retention within the socket of the denture is just a bit of the root area. So we can leave more than 1 millimeter. It's depending on the case. However, in this case, I demonstrated I did leave a millimeter, and it seems to be uh, good for this case. Yeah.
Then what kind of glue do you use between the base and the teeth die?
I leave it, to be honest, to the technician. It will be done in the lab. I do have a 3D printer, but I use it to print study models and night guards and temporary restorations. But I'm not currently printing um, in-house dentures. I would imagine there would be some sort of resin bonding
Oh.
um, in the lab will be done in the processing because for me, I have printed dentures as in different projects where I make it as a monoblock in case if we are going towards to do a test drive, whether for implant restoration or implants planning, or even for a normal traditional denture, um, where I make printed in a monoblock in a PMMA material, where the gum and the teeth will all look the same color white. And doing that, it's way easier to make it because I don't need to make the space between the teeth and the
Yeah.
denture. Yeah, all what I need to do is once I put the teeth over the denture base, I remove the excess root that is sticking through the denture base. And once I do that, I do Boolean union, and then I'll have one STL, which is a monoblock. And then I export and print.
Okay. So last question, question number 3. Do you always need to make the immediate denture with separate teeth and base?
If it is if we want to technically print in 2 colors, print the denture base in pink resin and print the teeth in white resin. So technically we need to make them 2 parts. And that's the reason why we didn't do Boolean cut right away. Otherwise, we will have no space for the teeth to be inserted within the socket so we can bond them. It will be too tight to set. And that's why we made them separate. But not always we need to make them separate. For an immediate denture, yes. But if we are working on a different project, we don't really need to do so. As I just mentioned, we can make it a monoblock. And yeah, it's still possible.
Mm. There are some materials like from pink color to white, right? As a monoblock.
Correct. There are the coming in the market printers with multicolor they can print.
Yeah.
It's probably in the future
Uh-huh.
that will be possible for us to be able to have affordable, accessible, multicolor printer in-house to have as in dental clinics as well.
Okay, that's all about it for today. Yeah, thank you for sharing all your tips. It was really informative lecture and questions.
Excellent.
Okay, so I know that you all have been waiting for this topic. So if you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to contact us meditedu@medit.com. Thank you for being here, Dr. Marwan.
Thank you so much.
Okay, see you next time. Bye.
See you, Jenny. Bye-bye.